asking Quentin just to...
Yeah, give us a bit more detail on it, Quentin. Obviously, we heard from Alison there some of the challenges for remote rural areas. I mean, this rebate's supposed to help people who live in those spots. I mean, how good news is it?
Well, it is good news. I mean, 135 to 150,000 people will benefit from this. Hopefully, all the retailers will pass on those savings to consumers. I'm not sure how the government's going to measure that. The really significant thing is that Danny Alexander fought this through. And he battled with the Muppets in Brussels for a year, and now they have said, yes, you can have a fuel duty rebate. Why they have to decide that we have to have their sign-off for a fuel duty rebate, we'll just pass on that one. But it means that we could have a blanket rebate across the UK, and this is what my campaign group, FairFuelUK, has been lobbying for. The government now know that low fuel is really, really important to the economy. We've proved, and the Treasury's admitted it, that by hijacking all these duty rises, we've saved 30 billion in fuel taxation and helped GDP rise by 0.5%. So they're in a difficult place, the government. They can't say, no, we've got to raise the price of fuel. So this is a landmark, because it means that if we can put enough pressure on the government, they will say, OK, let's bring duty down, because we pay 66% of every litre we pay at the pumps in duty.
I'm just wondering, in the case of the last few months, because fuel prices have been so low, the oil price has been so low, we've seen the economy take off. Does that therefore prove that if you cut fuel prices and fuel duty, the economy does better?
It does, completely. Everything you buy in the shops, 98% goes by road. Therefore, you stimulate consumer activity, you stimulate manufacturing, all these things. Now, I went to the Treasury with FairFuel and said, what happens if you do the reverse equation of cutting fuel duty, what happens to the economy? And they said, actually, we don't know.
They've never tried it.
No. And bless him, Danny Alexander pushed this through, and then they came out with this startling figure that by suspending all these duty rises, 1.5% uplift. Now that, in an era of flat growth, was really, really significant. So if you want to stimulate the economy, and things aren't rosy yet, Q1 and Q2 aren't great, no election, post-election bounce, a duty cut would help us all.
OK, Quentin, well, Quentin Willson from FairFuelUK is here. Morning to you, Quentin.
Morning.
So we heard what Alison's thoughts are on this. Do you think it goes far enough?
No, we should have a blanket cut in duty across the whole of the UK, because, as Alison says, it affects the cost of living. But how does it do it? I mean, we lower inflation, we create jobs, we stimulate spending, you improve GDP if you lower the cost of transport in the UK, because 98% of everything we buy in the shops travels by road. So FairFuelUK have been campaigning since 2011, and the Treasury admitted that we have reduced fuel duty, and the cost of GDP has risen by 0.5%. And that is really, really significant. So this is great, and it opens the doors to us cutting duty now, because the EU didn't want us to do this, so it took a year of battling to get this fuel duty rebate, and it will help 150,000 people and take perhaps 100, 150 quid a year off their fuel bills, which is important. But across the wider economy, this is really important, because we're not seeing a post-election bounce, we're not seeing massive pickups in business or manufacturing. We need to stimulate the economy. And the great thing about this is that the Treasury moans and says, well, where's the money going to come from? We have proved at FairFuel that actually it's almost self-financing, because you create all this economic stimulus that actually creates the jobs, that creates the money, that keeps the confidence going, that keeps the economy going.
Is that what happened in the first quarter? Because oil prices were on the floor, of course.
Yeah.
And then we saw quite a bump in the economy. And of course, now they've come up, it's right to go down. It's got a lot stickier, hasn't it?
You don't have to be Carol Vorderman to work this stuff out, do you? But there's this culture in Westminster of, no, cars, we don't understand them. We'll just take the duty. 66% of everything you pay at the pumps goes in duty. £42 billion a year goes into the Treasury, and we get, 18% of that back on roads. So it's always been a cash cow, but we now know that it affects the economy in a debilitating way if you've got high fuel costs. So we need to keep them low. So FairFuel and I will be lobbying the Chancellor to make sure we get a cut.
In terms of bringing it back to the rural communities that this particular venture is supposed to be helping people who live there. I mean, in Inverness, we were hearing there from Alison, people do go there perhaps for their weekly shop or fortnightly shop, and then they can just stock up on fuel, and it can be a lot cheaper.
A lot cheaper. I mean, if some of those communities have had petrol and diesel that's been maybe 15-20p more than the national average, and this has really been life has been very, very hard for them. So it's a very, very welcome thing. It will improve their lives. It will improve productivity and jobs and employment and all these important things in those remote areas.
Well, it's important to communities because if you go to a supermarket in Inverness where you get a 10p cut in fuel for doing your shopping at Asda or whatever, then why wouldn't you do that? And why would you support the local butcher, fishmonger, whatever in your local town?
Yeah, but you've got to drive to the supermarket that has the cut and waste all that petrol to get the cut. So why can't you have cheaper fuel in your village or your local community? So this is fair, it's just, the EU have agreed to it, but let's roll it out across the whole country and let's have cheaper fuel, cheaper transport for everyone.
Okay, well, we'll watch with interest. Thank you very much, Quentin, for coming in this morning. Thank you.